Lonely gaming pen pal. Lonely gaming pen pal. I had a bunch of friends who lived in Indiana and Kentucky, and then I moved away to Germany, and now I'm pretty lonely. Lonely gaming pen pal. Lonely gaming pen pal. It's probably a pretty impressive theme song, but this is the first episode of Lonely Gaming Pen Pal, a supplementary podcast replacing Super Gaming Best Friends, which is a podcast where a group of people come together to talk about video games, as opposed to this one where it's just me talking to you about the things that I would talk to other people about on Super Gaming Best Friends. It is Wednesday, November the 14th, and I'm your host, Ethan Moses. Gamertag WizardTrain187 in case you'd like to play video games with me. I play a lot. Even if you're in a different country, we can play together because of the internet. So just throwing that out there. So tonight's show is going to probably work out exactly like Super Gaming Best Friends. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to help myself to a beverage though. So yeah, don't expect too much originality from me on this podcast / videocast. We're not live. Despite working for Horrible Night for a really long time, I can't be trusted to go live quite yet. I'm working my way up there though. So I hope everyone's doing good, and hey, let's get into the content. So, well, I guess I'm the only one with games, so I'm going to go ahead and talk. Played a lot of games this past week. Maybe pretty happy. I like playing video games, but sometimes I get caught up with other things, like chores. Raising 2 cats is tough. Sometimes I aimlessly wander around Berlin. That takes a lot of time. So the fact that I really took some time to play some games is hey, why not? I'm a video game journalist. You gotta play games to be able to have a good opinion. Bink! So anyway, first I want to talk about the War Z. Actually, anybody who was on the website the other day saw that I had posted a video about my experiences in War Z, specifically the bro opportunity, or bro op, I had with Mr. Josh Lee, under the guise of Mr. Dave, our fictional character who came from Dragon's Dogma and has kind of stuck with us. The War Z, as you saw in the video, obviously, it is kind of a tough game because the other people that are surviving don't really like you all that much. And I've been playing a lot of it, and that is actually what inspired the video, because I really wanted to make friends. And I guess, as a lonely gaming pen pal, you gotta kind of assume that loneliness and video games are going to kind of go together. So maybe that's why everyone keeps shooting me. But but in all seriousness, I've really enjoyed the War Z. I'm really curious to see where it's going to go in the future. There's a lot of updates that are coming out. I've been with it since the alpha, and it started out as a pretty decent game. There's not a whole lot to do yet outside of survival, which as a mechanic is perfect. It's great. It's awesome. Don't get me wrong. However, I think that today's modern gamer, and I like to think of myself as a modern gamer, though some may argue with that, needs a little bit more substance. And because there's some user-generated type missions and that kind of stuff, it may be difficult for that game to have any legs quite yet. But again, we're in the beta, okay? So you can't expect too much yet, But what I've seen so far, I've liked, and I think it's moving in a really good direction. The community is absolute shit. Like, the community kind of sucks. Like, I think there's enough people in there that are kind of representing, what the War Z is supposed to be about. But unfortunately, the vocal minority is really ignorant. And I'm hoping that eventually those individuals get tired of playing. I'm not trying to knock anybody, but, it's really difficult to go on the forums and have rational discourse with people about the game, and ways to improve it with flaming and trolls and that kind of stuff. So that's a little bit disappointing, but not so disappointing that I don't sit around and get on the forums and think about the things I'd like to say to my new friends on the forums, which it's a little bit nerve-wracking to get on there, actually. I think I said one kind of astute thing Um, and then I got really nervous and I stopped posting on there. So, but you know what? Shouldn't be on forums. Should be playing video games because that's what life's about, I think. But back to that co-op session, I had a lot of fun playing with Josh Lee, aka Mr. Dave. I was disappointed in myself that I killed him in the end. That wasn't cool. Don't really have the melee combat down. I'm swinging pretty wide, and it was really sad to see him go down, especially with the fact that I hadn't seen anybody alive in the game who wasn't trying to kill me up until that point. So definitely great experience, but I really soured it, you know. So, and I think maybe Sweet Baby Jesus was teaching me a lesson, because the very next run through I had, I was shot and murdered, you know, for really no apparent reason. But the lesson to take of that was, or to take from that was, I shouldn't have hit Josh Lee in the head with a bat. It was a mistake, and I apologize about it. And that's the last time I'll bring that up. But I have a lot of guilt about that, because, you know, I think of myself as a good guy, and that just wasn't a good guy move. So anyway, I think I want to talk about Warzy more in the future. I don't think right now I like it, but I don't think there's enough to it to really go into depth of whether or not this will be a game, a multiplayer game, massively multiplayer, if you will, that I'll follow for a long time. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. So, excuse me, that was fucking rude, but you know what? This isn't rude. Rattleburger. They don't sponsor us yet, but they should. No one makes that sound in real life. It's rude. They shouldn't. So I kind of wanted to finish up any of the ranting or conversations, because it's not really ranting, because it's positive, and I think, you know, ranting is usually pretty negative. But Borderlands 2, I've really enjoyed the game. I was at the point, where I thought, you know, it's cool. I need to be in the right state of mind. But then, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but I will say this. This may be kind of spoiling things a little bit, but I won't, you know, no details. But some people die, okay? Some people that you grow to care about. And being the type that doesn't have a whole lot of friends in his location, I grew to care about these characters quite a bit more. And they died. Well, I'd love to say they died. They didn't die of natural causes. They didn't have some accident in the workplace. They didn't have some fatal disease that eventually killed them. Oh, they were murdered. They were fucking murdered. And I'm pissed about it. And if I didn't think that I was going to finish that game, because I don't normally finish games, I've got a problem with that, because I've got too many fucking games, and that's another story altogether. Okay, we're not going to get into that. But I have way too many games, and I should concentrate on them. But if I'm going to concentrate on a game, fucking revenge is the way to do it. Like, get me full of revenge. Get me fucking wanting to spit some heat. Okay, that's what the kids are saying these days when they want to get revenge. No, I don't know if that's true. I've made that up, but it sounds fucking cool. And if people start saying that, you owe me. No, you can have it. You don't owe me anything, guys. Just be friends. That'd be great. That's all I need. But oh my gosh, I'm playing the game. And Borderlands 2 is not a game. Well, the Borderlands wasn't a game that you get emotionally invested in. Most people shouldn't get emotionally invested in, but I tend to get emotionally invested in basically everything that I run into. Food, television shows, video games with little to no plot. And I'm pissed. I'm not happy. I'm going to fucking kill Handsome Jack. And not in a friendly way either. Like, it's not going to be a friendly mercy type killing. It's not going to be that type of killing where I'm like, you know, the very end, he's like, I did it for this reason. And I kind of contemplate. I'm like, well, okay, I see your point, but I'm going to have to kill you anyway. He was like, I know, I understand, that's fine. But I want you to hear me out. I'm not going to fucking hear him. I don't care what he has to say. I don't care if, you know, his parents made him do it, you know, as some sort of punishment for something he did as a child. I don't fucking care why he did what he did. But he killed people that I was quite fond of. That shit's not gonna fucking stand at all. So you heard it here first. By the end of this week, and if not this week, next week, or perhaps the following week, I'm gonna fucking kill you, Handsome Jack. That's kind of like I'm trying to do a Rambo, but I have like a really high voice, like a squeaky like teenage voice. So I can't really do. I'm gonna kill you, Handsome Jack. Yeah, like I'm coming for you, Handsome. That was even worse. That sounds like I had diarrhea, or actually sounded more like I was constipated. So anyway, past that. There was a deal on Dark Souls Prepare to Die Edition for the PC this past weekend, and I partook in that. And man, that game's mean. That's just a mean game too. The PC version's a little bit meaner because it's a little bit janky. You know, like not a little bit janky. It's pretty fucking janky. There's some fixes, workarounds, and that kind of shit that you can do, but a little bit janky. But I don't usually like the punishing type games. But I kind of enjoyed what the game is supposed to be, what I think it will be in the future. I was a little bit confused, probably because I skipped the cutscenes because I didn't think I really needed those, but maybe I did. And in hindsight, it's always 2020, and I apologize, I didn't know. You know, I haven't gotten to that point where the difficulty is beating me in the face yet. Like, I'm not, like, my face isn't being beat quite yet. But the impressions I have right now are that, first impression, because impressions don't come in letters, they come in numbers. Lesson for you kids. First, that game's going to beat the shit out of me, and I'm going to get really fucking frustrated and probably stop playing it eventually. But two, or B, if you really want letters, I like the idea of having to focus on my skill set and not just my equipment. I think that, especially in today's gaming, where there's a lot of RPG elements, character progression, all that kind of stuff, is that we often rely on not our skills, but on that next weapon, next piece of armor, next level up to get us through. And I know I do it. I do that as often as anybody does. And obviously those games are set up like that. You know, it's not like the enemies are always the same. I mean, they kind of level up with you a bit, but there's times that I don't really feel like maybe my skill is doing all the talking. Maybe my gear's doing the talking. And that seems like something that Puff Daddy would do. I feel like Puff Daddy lets his gear do the talking. And he's got cool gear, don't get me wrong. But is he doing himself justice? I don't know. I don't know much about Puff Daddy. I don't even think he's referred to as Puff Daddy anymore, but that's neither here nor there. But I digress. Dark Souls, I've enjoyed so far, you know, really learning to fight in a, I don't know if you want to call it realistic way, but like a more skillful way. You know, like you can't take a whole lot of abuse in this game. Again, I told you it's beating my face, but oh, wait a second. My cat Scuffles is being a complete douche. Do you want in? It makes Lonely Gaming Pen Pal that much more lonely if my cat is the other cast member, but that's fine. If you want to basically ruin my life, go ahead. Cats. You know? You know? Probably not, you don't. But anyway, so I'd like to see where I get with that game. No huge verdict on it right now, but I'm liking being pushed to hit numbers or buttons in a way to make things happen in a more delightful way, if you will. I'm playing as a pretty generic battle guy. I don't know if that's what it was called. Warrior, knight. It's not the knight. I think I'm the dude above him. Oh, would you like to say something to the camera? Here, everyone. Scuffles the lonely gaming video game cat. Sounds like a pigeon, doesn't she? Isn't that weird? Hope she doesn't have some sort of disease that I don't know about. You don't either. You're very nice. This is when it gets extra lonely, when I stare creepily at the camera and hold my cat out. That was actually her opinion on Dark Souls as well. She watched me play. She's an opinionated cat. Anyway, back to my list. I saw my buddies, the Justin of the Lacey's and the Josh of the Lees, playing a game called Natural Selection 2, which is a game about army dudes fighting army bugs. I don't know if they're actually in an army, but I think bugs are all kind of situated like an army in a way. Certain hierarchy about things. They march around, do whatever. Anyway, bugs versus good guys. Well, I assume they're good guys. They seem good. Bugs are usually bad. Multiplayer, Natural Selection 2 was, I believe, an Unreal mod. I never got into that one, but I thought, Natural Selection 2 looked pretty badass, and Josh and Justin seemed to have a fun enough time with it, and I trust those guys usually. So I got into it, and I played a game with some dudes with cool accents this weekend. Actually, it was a pretty good thing. It was a pretty cool thing. The thing about being global is you learn a lot, and you play games with people with cool accents. And so I came in as a Space Marine. I believe that's what they're called, though that could be inaccurate, but it's been a while since I played, and I slept and drank a lot since then, and that happens to the best of us. It does. It really does. And so you come in, and the way it's set up is you start with your kind of generic soldier or your generic bug, and then throughout the game you earn credits, and then you can buy new weapons, or for the the bug side of things, you can level yourself up to being a different sort of bug. And the cool thing is there's an RTS element to it. So the commander is kind of looking around and kind of placing points for resources and that kind of stuff, dropping ammo off to you, doing that kind of thing. So it's kind of a cool, kind of combination of things. And I didn't play as the bugs, but again, it looked like it was kind of the same thing. Now with the Marines, the humans, the good guys, you are essentially setting up like machinery and that kind of stuff, whereas the bugs are spreading ooze, like ooze and shit. Like they just basically just spread ooze all over the place. I'm not sure really what the bugs were doing the whole time. Like I'm not sure what the other guys on the other team were doing, except for just putting ooze on shit. And it's gross, but it's space. You don't get your space license and then get to space and like deal with oozy bugs and then be like, oh shit, this isn't what I fucking signed on for. Yeah, it is what you signed on for. Don't be an idiot. You signed on for that. So I had to kind of get over it. But anyway, so I kind of went in. I was a grunt. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a rookie, and it basically tells everybody you're playing with that you're a rookie. So everyone, more or less, rolls their eyes. Like, oh, who's the fucking rookie? I was hoping I was going to get in there and be kind of a hotshot rookie. And I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I kind of was. Killed a lot of aliens. I did a pretty good job. I died a lot, don't get me wrong. It wasn't like I survived the whole time, but it was fun. It was a fun game. It was kind of weird because there's not an aim for the weapons that you use. You start with a rifle, and there's a shotgun, a flamethrower, a grenade launcher, and then like mines, and then at some point you can get into a mech, but I got a story about that later. But it was we had a pretty good team effort. The commander knew what he was doing. Well, he said he didn't know what he was doing, but he led well. And sometimes people lead well when they're in serious situations, and he had no other choice but to be the commander at that time. At one point he jumped out, and nobody was in the commander's seat, which is like this metal like cocoon, and like with the aliens it's like a literal cocoon, which is kind of funny if you think about it. Maybe we don't have that much. I mean, maybe we have more in common with the aliens than we think, and maybe this battle is just useless. Think about it. Ponder that. Put it in your head. Okay? Not for very long, though, because that's probably a stupid idea. But anyway, I climbed in the commander's seat for I was maybe in there for 30 seconds, and somebody was already like, look, dude, you gotta you gotta get out of there. That's probably not a good place for you. And it wasn't. It definitely wasn't. I need to be on the battlefield. I'm a grunt, I'm not smart enough quite yet, to be in the real-time strategy aspect of that game, because every real-time strategy has its own little caveats, I guess. And I needed to focus on the first-person shooter until I learned what I was doing. And I didn't want to leave my team down. You don't jump into a position like that, you know, a position of, like, shit's on you. Like, that's a position that a lot of people get into. And if you're not prepared for that position, then you don't need to be in it, okay? This goes to anyone who thinks that they want to be like a, you know, like a fighter pilot. If you're not ready to have the shit on you, if you're not ready to fly up into the mothership at the last minute and blow it up from the inside out, just be cautious, you know? Just saying. Don't listen to me about life advice. That's like a fucking poor... I'm lonely gaming pen pal. I'm a lonely gaming pen pal. This is what I've done with my adult life. That sounds actually pretty successful. Anyway, so I'm playing as a grunt. I like the rifle. It works, you know, pretty good all-around weapon. Shotgun. I didn't love being that close to Germany Siren. They sound weird. I didn't like to be that close to the aliens because, you know, a lot of their attacks come from in close range, and they do some fucking damage. They chomp on your shit pretty hard. So I definitely did not want to be too near them. So I kind of backed away from the shotgun, but again, it's got its uses. Flamethrower, awesome. Though I think I got a little bit wild with it, more or less. I think I set too much shit on fire. Though I don't think I can hurt my buddies with the flamethrower, but I think it's confusing when you're trying to do something real strategic, and then there's a guy in the back like, guys, don't worry, I got it. And then like a whole screen, you know, fills with flame, and you're just like, dude, I was like, you know, I was doing something with, you know, like something real minuscule, like I was like working on a microchip, and I can't see now. So I tried to use that like on little solo missions, like, you know, that goo I was talking about. There's these little polyps, like little yellow polyps, and you can blow those up, and it makes the goo not spread around quite as much. And so I tried to maybe use a flamethrower on that, so I wasn't anybody's way. Yeah, it was kind of like a, you know, like the little baby nephew at Thanksgiving, like just staying out of people's way, but being useful, you know, throwing the chicken bones away or the turkey bones, whatever sort of, you know, poultry you eat on Thanksgiving, cleaning up afterwards, but not getting anybody's way. But I at one point I was getting a little bit cocky. Maybe not cocky. I'm not very cocky. I don't really have the self-confidence for that. Maybe a little bit bold is probably the better terminology. And as I mentioned before, you can get into a mech. It's like a suit with like a hand. And it's like a smashing hand and like a gauntlet gun. And you're just smashing gauntlet shit. And I mean, they look pretty fucking sturdy. And so we got to a point where I think we were more or less winning. We were in control. Okay, I did some cool stuff, I think, to help. You know, I helped a guy out. He had a jetpack, and I kind of stood behind him and was like, "Hey, keep it up, man. You're doing great." So, you know, it's inspirational. But so I'm running, catching up with dudes, because that's usually what I'm doing. Is I'm catching up and just kind of, you know, keeping a low profile. So it's okay with that. You know, in a world where everybody has to be really awesome and really cool, I'm okay with keeping a low prof. That's what I call it, low prof. And so I roll in, and I see one dude grab a mech suit, fucking march out. I was like, that's awesome. Cool. A little bit jealous, but I know my place. Mech suit is not where I should be right now. I should be still just supporting people. Dude number 2 comes out. He's got a fucking mech suit. I'm like, shit. Mech suits are in surplus in this mug. And he rolls out, and I'm like, you know what? That's probably the last of the money that the commander has, because the commander has resources just like you do. But they can't just blow them on random shit. And then I look up, and there's the 3rd mech suit. It's just sitting there. And apparently, we were making a push, you know, to destroy the last alien cocoon. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, well, I'll leave it. Like, just, nah, someone's on his way. Well, apparently the dude that was on his way got caught in another fucking battle. So he was like, dude, someone's got to grab that mech suit. Well, who's close to that mech suit? And I was like looking around, like, physically, and then realized I needed to look around in the game. And I was the only, I had to. Like, it wasn't, at the point, it wasn't even like a choice. It was like instinct, like, get in the fucking mech suit, dude. get in the fucking mech suit and go help your bros out. And I did. Like, and I felt good. I did a test run. I clamped my hand. I was like, that feels strong. And I shot the gun, not too much though. And I was like, I'm ready. I think I'm fine, you know? I go marching in there, and I hear some gunfire and some, aliens like, just make weird alien fucking noises. Oh, that's good. And walked in, and I imagined trumpets. Metaphorical trumpets. Literal trumpets would be great too, but metaphorical trumpets. As I walked in, like, these dudes, like, 2 mech suits is good, but we need just one more solid guy in here to help us. And he's not here yet. And then I didn't walk in. Because mechs don't walk. Mechs fucking strut. I was like, you guys need some help? Got ready to go and just fucking like, my mech just fucking exploded. Like, just demolished. Apparently, while I was busy trucking along, one of these big fucking aliens got up behind me, and I wasn't paying enough attention, and it fucked me up. I don't know, I think maybe it had been hitting me for quite some time, or maybe some of the little aliens were pecking at me as well. I was so excited about the mech suit, I wasn't paying attention, and I let my dudes down. They didn't say it, because they were pretty polite. These dudes were polite. But, I definitely think that, I don't know. That made me feel a little bit bad. I'm not going to lie. But, the show had to go on, and I said, I apologize. I said, look, dudes, the mech suit was sitting there. You needed my help. I didn't, I panicked. I freaked out. So, if you play Natural Selection 2 with a guy named Wizard Train 187 on Saturday night, I apologize. And if we ever play again, I will be you tell me what to do. You tell me what to do and I'll do it. Okay? So anyway, the last game that I want to get into, and I'm a little bit afraid to get into this because I feel like maybe I'd start talking about it for maybe 45 minutes to an hour or maybe even 2 hours, is Towns. Towns was a Steam Greenlight game. And it got greenlit, so congratulations to Town developers. Your name escapes me, but you know who you are. Everyone does, because you made a badass game. Towns is, I've heard comparisons to Dwarf Fortress. I would say it's like Dwarf Fortress. I've never played it. I have somewhat of an idea of what Dwarf Fortress is, and so I will say probably, I don't know. It feels a lot like Majesty. Majesty was a series of games where you kind of indirectly controlled the battlefield. So your heroes kind of did their own thing. You just kind of motivated them to do so. This game is a little bit more in-depth in the sense that you're actually building these towns from the grounds up. You start off the game with, like 11 little dudes, little settlers, and you give them orders. They mine, they gather, flora and fauna from the wilderness that you exist in. Sometimes they fight. Sometimes they have to fight because Towns is harsh, real fucking harsh, actually. And from there you can build buildings. You collect enough stone, you build things out of stone. So it's got a lot of different stuff going on for it right now. I mean, it's got that indirect, battlefield management of Majesty. It's got some crafting stuff, kind of like Minecraft, definitely. Now, I hate always jumping to that comparison, but I can't think of another game at this point that Minecraft, Terraria, any of those crafting type games. A crafting type game, okay? You got crafting involved. You collect this ingredient, and you combine it with this ingredient, you get blah, this stuff. So it has that, and it's cool because, a lot of these sim type games, you kind of have preset buildings and that kind of stuff. Whereas with this one, you actually get you get zones, okay? So you have, like a personal space zone, which you set it up, and eventually one of your little people will go and live there. You've got your carpentry zone, which is where people will do all their carpentry type work. Then that's where you can build any of the utilities that you need for carpentry, you know, like a wood detailing bench or a chopping block or whatnot. I mean, so you have all these little zones. They do their specific things, and essentially it is a means for the AI to, you know, direct your little guys and gals to those areas to perform certain tasks. And so the tasks that you're trying to perform, I mean, you're gathering, you know, things, you're hunting. You get to a point where you're more farming than hunting, but you know what I mean. You know, building, that kind of stuff. So you have these different layers of production, all this kind of thing going on, all this stuff going at it, and you can actually select what you want your, you know, townspeople to do. You can also set like priorities. So, you know, for instance, if you got a lot of different little tasks going on for them, and suddenly you say, hey, I'd rather you be doing this right now, you just kind of, you've got this hierarchy of priorities that you can choose between. So let's say you're mining, you want them to start making more food, you pop that up. And then you can also go into another menu which allows you to set up like kind of production kind of minimums and like, you know, immediate production type stuff. So let's say you want 10 loaves of bread. You can set up, I want 10 loaves of bread now. People go and make the bread. Or you can set up, you can set it up so that you don't ever get lower than 10 loaves of bread. So at any given time, your guys will always make 10 loaves of bread for your people. Bread's important in this game, by the way, because it gives you energy to do the things that you need to do, and that's to survive. And so, I mean, I don't want to get into all of that aspect of it because it's complicated. I mean, there's a lot of stuff into it, so you have to kind of get into it. But your goal, more or less, is to colonize the surface, okay? Build your town like you want to build it. Make sure your people are happy, and then you start to attract heroes. And there's a variety of them. All of them have, you know, different kind of skill sets and that kind of stuff. But you never have direct control over them. You're just basically creating a place that they would enjoy to live in or visit, whichever comes first or last. And so these heroes come in, and they don't actually start coming in until you actually begin to dig into the ground. So like in some games, you start digging the ground, you get into caves and stuff like that. Underneath your town is like 12 layers, I believe, of dungeon, just right beneath your feet. And so basically, not only do you have to deal with kind of some of the monsters that live on the surface, you have to deal with 12 layers of dungeon beneath you, and each layer has, you know, a more challenging sort of monster in there. And it's kind of scary because you're making this peaceful little town, knowing that beneath you hell is just waiting to crumble your civilization to the ground. And that scared me a lot. But that's why you have your fucking heroes. Your heroes come in, and they are motivated by things that motivate everybody. You know, food, you know, entertainment. And I'll get to entertainment real quick because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense in this game, but that's why I like it so much. And equipment and that kind of thing. So you dig down in the ground. You create a pathway to your dungeon, and when you do this, you want to make sure that you're protected, like your town is protected, because I'm pretty sure the bad guys are going to come up and try to get you. So there's, you know, traps and stuff you can set up and whatnot. But as your heroes come into town, they go down, they start exploring the dungeon themselves. Again, you don't do anything to motivate them to do that per se, so they have to kind of, you know, find their own way. And they have to make their own decisions, which is fine because, you know what? Video game characters should make their own decisions more often than not. They don't need us to always tell them what to do. They just don't. I don't know. I think it's goofy. I think, you know, you give a person the rope and let them hang themselves, okay? And these heroes do that sometimes. Sometimes they do exactly what you want them to, and sometimes they don't. But either way, they start clearing this dungeon, and so it's kind of cool because you've got, you know, there's a lot of micromanagement going on, and it's within reason. It's not insane. You know, it's not like, you know, keystrokes per minute micromanagement. It's not StarCraft 2 bullshit. Like it's, you know, you're watching your town, making sure your town people are happy, because again, that's another element that comes into play. They have to be happy. You overwork them, they're not happy. You don't feed them enough, they're not happy. Or they may starve to death. And if they starve to death, then ghosts can come out of their body and kill everybody else. I know, it's crazy, but it's cool. I like that. So you're watching that. Then you're like, okay, but I got to make sure my heroes are happy because I've opened up this fucking dungeon. Okay? I've turned that fucking key. All right? You know, all the evil beneath me is ready to fucking go. And so now I have to make sure my heroes stay here and fight well and stay alive. Okay? So there's all these little things going on within the game. So you've got, so you got your food going, and so let's say you're making enough food for your people, and then suddenly you've got heroes coming in, so you got to kind of adjust that. But you don't want to overwork your people. If you overwork your people, they aren't happy. If they're not happy, then new people don't come into town. If you don't have new people coming into town, you're not going to be able to expand as much, and blah, 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 blah. It's cool. It gets intense. I think that in terms of sim games, and again, it's still in a beta, or pre-release. I don't know. Beta is tough to always, because sometimes betas are more complete than others. It feels pretty complete so far, but anyway, I think it's at version 0.82 or something along those lines. Anyway, okay. Well, let me just put it this way: it's really tough to just say to someone, "Oh, this game is awesome." So, looking at the library of games that I have right now, okay. And knowing that I was in the middle of Borderlands 2, been playing a lot of War Z, I've still got the Secret World sitting around there waiting for me to jump back into it. I put 17 hours into Towns, starting from the time I bought it, which I believe was Friday, to Sunday evening. Okay. I also had my in-laws in to visit. We went and traveled around, visited Dresden. So it's safe to say the game's good. I love the direction it's going. I love the type of game it wants to be, and that it's going to be. And I'll be, wow, excuse me, hiccups. The cure for that. I think it's actually being scared, but I can't scare myself. But oh my, sim games do that with me. And they grab my brain, and it's like, because you're playing it not like really, I'm not shooting shit, fucking running around. I'm kind of letting shit happen like it should. And I'm watching, but I'm also supervising. And I'm able to build, I'm able to let my imagination flow, but it's not like a harsh flow. There's certain harsh flows to imagination release. And this game doesn't do that. There's never a time where I'm like, man, I'm just fucking exhausted. It's cool to see shit come together. You're constantly spreading your town across this map, this uncolonized, fucking harsh, primal place. You trying to keep your people happy. You've got this just depth of just horror beneath you, and it's I don't know. I just love that. I love how that all comes together, because there's games that have maybe similar hectic type, similar responsibilities. They're a little bit hectic. You're more often than not, you're juggling so much you can't really actually enjoy the game. And I think this game does a really good job of finding a happy medium. It's not super intense. Now, I may have been playing at a difficulty level that wasn't insane, and maybe the difficulty will be, across the board upped in the future, but I felt comfortable the whole time, and I liked that I was building a story, you know what I mean? Because I started from nothing, I went from there, and because you don't have direct control, things kind of happen as they naturally would, I guess, if that makes any sense, if something natural can happen in a digital world. And I think that, I when I've heard about Dwarf Fortress, I've heard about people talking about this narrative that kind of is created within, and I think this is probably pushing more so towards the kind of the really good sim. I don't know if there's as much of that stuff going on, but I think there's enough that keep you interested, For instance, I had a couple people that were with my town from its founding. So, and they all have really complicated names. But I remember one was like Avian Dolagoto or something along those lines. And this lady had been with me since the beginning. Hard worker, worked in the fields, baked, fought. I mean, she did it all. And I had begun digging at mine early on in my settlement's lifespan, and I had hit the dungeon, and I thought to myself, and this is before I did a little bit more research and I realized, what the dungeon was about. And I thought, I don't think I'm ready for whatever's down there. I saw shit moving around. Saw some spiders, saw some blobs, which, or lower level enemies, but at the point, like, my people weren't equipped or anything like that. And so I decided, I'm going to go ahead and fence this place off and wait till, sometime in the future. Well, as I'd fenced it off, ghosts had appeared. And ghosts in this game are pretty savage. They're fucking mean. It's not Casper. It's not that helpful girl from The Sixth Sense. The scary one that was hiding on the bed. The one whose mom poisoned her, which that's fucked up, but it's beside the point. These ghosts want to kill your people. Sometimes these ghosts used to be your people. And so they'd been building up, and I hadn't really paid much attention. I first thought it was a glitch because it just kind of sat there, and I could kind of see into the cave enough to know that something was going on, but not enough to realize how much of a quagmire I would have gotten myself into had I opened the cave. And I'd had a few heroes move into town. They were clearing the dungeon out, and I thought, I need to give these guys another entry point into the dungeon, because I had an entry point, like way far down on the map, and then they had to walk all the way through the dungeon to get back up to the hospital or the inn or whatnot, or the tavern. And so I was like, well, I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And I had my lady who'd been there for a while. She and 3 other townspeople went in and started mining a bigger, space in there, and took down the wooden pieces I had up there to prevent people from going in there. And then I'd also set a door up, and you can lock doors on this. So I unlocked that and opened it up and walked in there, and immediately all these ghosts fucking just like, and they hadn't moved the whole time. I thought it was a glitch. Because for the most part, they go after you, So if they had the ability to get up and move around, they would have. And they didn't. And these people went in there, and it was a fucking slaughterhouse. Like, it was awful. Like, my people died quick. And I hadn't been paying too much attention because I was kind of following the exploits of a barbarian down in the dungeon. I was kind of watching. I was like thinking, man, I'm doing really good. Like, all these things are dropping these, green goo, which you use for something. I'm not sure what, but I was excited about it anyway. And I'm watching this, and I suddenly look up to there's like a little kind of notification icon up at the top corner of your screen, and it was flashing red, and that usually means something's happening. And for the most part, it just tells you almost anytime anything happens. But I looked up there, and it was like, fucking, this person dead, this person dead, this person dead. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I go over to the far end of my map, which is kind of on the, I guess, the Wild West, I guess, of my colony, which I haven't named yet, which I should. And it nothing was there. Then that's usually where things would attack. And I thought, fuck, what was the last thing I did? I tried to open up that fucking cave full of ghosts, which was stupid. And so I fucking went over there, and lo and behold, people were getting messed up. And I actually had some town guards set up from some other individuals who'd been around the colony for a while, and they fortunately were close. Their patrol had actually led them somewhat close to the entrance of that cave, that newly dug entrance, and they walked in there and basically mopped the fucking floor with these ghosts. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that they saw their fellow villagers dying, but regardless, these dudes fucking just, and I had to hand it to them, but it was too late. Like, no one could be saved. Because in this game, people don't just fall over when they die. They fall over into a puddle of little red goo filled with bones. And when all that's left of you is red goo filled with bones, you're fucked. So, it was sad. It was sad. I didn't like that. But again, you get like emotionally, and again, I know I get emotionally invested in everything, but I like how this game kind of makes you really think about that sort of stuff, or makes you not think about that sort of stuff, and then think about it afterwards and feel really bad about it. So I'm really excited about a lot of games right now, but Towns was a pleasant surprise. And actually, I love pleasant surprises more so than games that I anticipate, because again, Borderlands 2, for instance, I anticipated that game. I thought it was going to be great. It is great. I've enjoyed playing it, but it doesn't surprise me that it was great. So in that situation, all that can really happen is either A, your expectations are met, which there's no surprise there, or B, you're disappointed. But when you find one of these little games that it's not a little game, I hate saying that, I always say that, that's so condescending, but one of these indie games, or one of these games that wasn't on your radar, and you jump into it, it's like, oh fucking A, man, this is fucking badass. And it's exciting. And and we talked again last week about how the indie games are just reinvigorating us in terms of gaming, and definitely this is one of those games that just has me like just so fucking happy, like so excited to play it. I need to actually step away from it for a little while so I can actually play other games. There's obviously Call of Duty Black Ops 2 is coming out. I know everyone's like, oh, it's just another Call of Duty, but I'm actually more excited about that game than anything else. Or not than anything else, but I'm more excited about that game than any other Call of Duty game. And it's been a while since a Call of Duty game has actually had me excited. Usually I'm like, I'm gonna get him anyway. It's I'm just gonna get him because I actually enjoy the single player. Don't love the multiplayer, but that's because I'm not very good at it. But Towns is kind of like, I don't know, it's like, man, I've got to put Towns down and jump into a game that I'm kind of looking forward to, and that's nutty. That's nutty to me, but I'm okay with that kind of nuttiness, and everybody should be. So, I could probably go on and on, but I'm only one man. I'm only one lonely gaming pen pal. And thanks for joining me. Hopefully you don't have to see too many episodes of this. Hopefully Super Gaming Best Friends can come back at its regular scheduled time, which is Tuesdays, every other Tuesday. A horrible show. The Tuesdays that aren't Super Gaming Best Friends show. Two great podcasts. Two podcasts I also happen to be a part of. So if you enjoy listening to me talk by myself, you'll probably enjoy a podcast that consists of dudes that are much better spoken than I am and a lot more entertaining. So from Lonely Gaming Pen Pal, this is Ethan Moses. Thanks for joining me. You guys are great.